see, and I can get less what they. Yo. Welcome back to Channel's Friday.
What?
Channel's Friday, so you know what Friday means. But first, wait. Before we do that, let me sing to you.
Nope.
Today, being Friday, y'all know what today means. Every Friday, what we do every Friday. Every Friday, we come together and we watch, or I should say I watch. On Friday, we come together and we react, right? We chat with each other for Fright Night Fridays. Fright Night Fridays, y'all know, series every Friday. Started up 4 weeks ago. This is episode 5. It's crazy, huh? How fast it moves, how these seasons be moving. I still don't know if I want to do these in seasons or if it's just gonna be continued throughout the year. We'll see. But yes, we're back with some more animated horror stories. And these ones are short because it's still only a 30-minute video. But hey, we're gonna jump into them. I hope that you guys are enjoying the videos. I think you guys are actually. This is a very popular series since I've dropped it, so I greatly appreciate all the love and support you guys have been showing. And I would love to see that continued support, and I would love to continue to create the content that you guys would like to see. So let me know. But without further ado, if you are liking the content, please make sure you are continuing to spam that like button. Smash that sub button so you can join the community. Hit that bell notification off to the side so you can be alerted whenever I go live and or post another video. And as always, if there's any content you would like to see created here on the channel, drop that in the comment section below, right? And let's jump right into these today, because that's
working as a driver for DoorDash.
Jesus, I don't want it louder than me.
Job ever since I moved to Converse, Texas. I mainly pick up deliveries inside of San Antonio, but sometimes I will find ones that take me out of Converse and a bit into the country. Now, I used to not mind those deliveries, and I would pretty much accept any job that I could handle. But after this one incident that brought me to a Texas ranch, I will no longer go outside of the cities of Converse and San Antonio.
Wonder what this about.
It was around 8:30 p.m. and I picked up an order that brought me out to the middle of nowhere. That's the crazy thing about Texas. 1 second, you can be in a big city, and the next, there is practically nothing around you for miles.
Very dangerous.
As I drove around looking for the entryway onto this massive property, I began following a large fence that ran alongside the street. I figured the fence would eventually lead me to the entryway, and I was correct. I pulled into a small driveway.
That's a nice house in the middle of nowhere. That's very sketch, don't you think?
With a number pad that required a code to get in. I wasn't given a code, so I decided to contact the person who sent out the order. They responded within a minute with a text that read, the code, pound 6660. Welcome to the family.
What?
I was confused by that last line, but I leaned out of my car window and punched in the code, chuckling to myself at the fact that they used
out your car window, bro. You just walked 6 miles. How'd you lean out the? How you lean out the car? Like you're nowhere near your car.
Loud banging sound. Huh? And then slowly slid open across rust-covered
leaned out his car, bro. You are outside of your car. Your car is nowhere to be found.
With trees lining both sides of it. They must have been planted there by the owners a while back because they looked oddly out of place compared to the barren fields I'm just trying to figure out,
like,
ranch.
Like it's COVID season, right? What happened to the where the car?
And I couldn't help but shake the creepy feeling that was coming over me. I was on edge, which I'm glad for because as I rounded one of the small bends,
the man literally walked a mile and a half to that gate,
tall,
and his car just pops up. Oh my goodness! Look at Buddy.
Black
Look at Buddy.
We stared
I'm
at each
all
other
over the
for
place,
a moment
but so is this
either
story,
of us moving.
Right?
I was
I'm not
shock.
tripping, am I?
Eventually, I got the courage to roll my window down a bit and yell out, "Did you order the takeout?" But he didn't answer. All he did
roll
was
your
step
window back
to the
up.
side
Look at him
and point down the driveway, as if telling me to continue. Reluctantly, I did. I continued down the pathway, and behind every couple of trees, I can't help but think that I see more people dressed up in a similar suit as the man who had been standing in the driveway. Still, I continued on. Finally, I could see a house in front of me, but as if it was something out of my worst nightmare. Standing on the porch of the large house and along the outside of the driveway were at least a dozen or more men, all dressed
in
dirt-covered
would have shown it as soon as they played the music.
Some black
maybe it would have
and
gotten
some gray. I froze. I didn't know what to do. but I knew for a fact that nothing could make me get out of my car at that moment. After sitting in the driveway, staring at the group of strange men, I noticed that one of them had something in their hand. My eyes widened as I realized what it was, and I quickly threw the car into reverse. One of the men on the porch was carrying a rifle of sort. I wasn't close enough to see what kind it was, but I knew it was a firearm of some sort. I slammed my foot on the gas and began swinging my car around in reverse to turn around so that I could drive out of there as fast as I could. At that point, I noticed a few of the men now begun walking toward my car. After fully turning around, I put my car into drive and began flooring it. I let out a scream as I heard a loud bang followed by my rear windshield shattering. I leaned forward and made my head as low as possible while still being able to see over the dashboard. As I made my way down the driveway, every tree that I passed, I could see a man stepping out from behind it and walking toward the path that I had been driving down. Luckily, none of them seemed to be armed. I made it out of the driveway and onto the road, and as I passed the still open gate, I noticed that it began to close. They were trying to trap me inside with them.
Wow.
I sped down the road and called 911 as I made my way to the police station and explained to them what just happened to me. They were confused when I told them the address because they were familiar with it, and it had apparently been an abandoned property for the past decade. By the time the officers made it to the ranch, however, they said it appeared to still be abandoned, and there was no one around.
But where the other cops
3 hours after I finally got home, around 2:30 a.m., I received a text message saying, "Where'd you go? It was just getting fun." That was the last time I ever took an order outside of the city.
Like you have many options there, right? You can get the fuck up out of there. You can leave. You can go, right? Why? Like my thing is, if you're delivering food, it's cold. It had to have been like COVID season, right? It had to have been somewhere around there. Just like get rid of put the stuff at the gate. When I order Grubhub, because I don't mess with DoorDash or Uber Eats just because terrible. But when I order through Grubhub, the people set my stuff at my door. Just set the shit at the gate. You gonna come out and get this. Like, I'm not about to walk down a mile and a half of driveway to get to your house. I'm gonna leave that shit at the gate and you gonna come get it and goodbye. Like, ain't no way. Like, buddy, like, come on. What y'all thought about that first story as we jump into our next one here?
I started working for DoorDash shortly before the pandemic hit, about 2.5 years ago, and at first I loved it. I was fresh out of high school and earning a decent amount of money making deliveries throughout Brooklyn and the surrounding boroughs. The best part of the job was being able to set my own hours, and since I had nothing better to do, I just worked as much as I could and earned as much as I could while it was possible. The only reason I stopped was that I lost my car and couldn't afford to get a new one without getting a different, less mobile job. You see, I was doing my usual routine and waiting for an order to be placed that I could pick up and make a couple of dollars. And when an order finally came through, I was quick to snatch it and begin making my way to the pickup location.
Definitely the DoorDash.
It was a pizza place that I was familiar with, so finding parking to pick up the food wasn't an issue at all. And by the time it was ready to be picked up, I was there grabbing it. I made my way back to my car as fast as I could, letting the person who ordered the pizza know that their food was picked up and on the way. I looked at my phone and saw that the delivery was to an apartment building a couple blocks over, and in no time, I was en route with the food. It took me about 6 minutes to get to the block that the apartment building was located on, and luckily for me, street parking wasn't too bad at that time of day, and I managed to find a spot that was right next to the building. Now this was a no-contact delivery, which meant that I was to leave the food at the door, take a picture of it, notify the person who ordered the food that their pizza was downstairs, and then they were responsible for coming to get it. So I walked up to the door and placed the food in a safe spot. And as I was taking my phone out of my pocket, I noticed a group of young men who looked to be no older than 16 down on the corner. I couldn't help but notice they all kept looking over at me. Now in my mind, I figured that they were just thinking
Bloody
about
eyes,
trying to take the
bloodshot.
food, so I wasn't concerned for my safety at all, and I continued about my business. I took my phone
Exactly.
out and began
If they
taking a
snatch
picture
that
of the
food
food,
up, they ain't got shit
and then
to do
I
with
even
me.
called the number that I was given for the person who ordered the food to let them know that their food was downstairs. I didn't want them to miss out on
Downstairs? I thought
any
he
of
was
the
at the door,
delicious
right?
pizza. As I hung up the phone, I took another look down the corner of the block.
Sometimes
and
the
this
extra
time,
details
I saw
they say,
the
like, what was the
entire
need
group
of
had been
saying delicious
staring
pizza?
my way.
There's literally no need
I'm
for that.
not sure why.
These
but
sounds
this
are
made me
so
feel
misplaced.
Really uneasy.
You gotta
And I
put them
figured
like
that
at
it was
the
time for me
beginning
to go.
as you're flat.
As I
you're,
went to turn
like,
toward my car,
transition.
out of my peripheral vision, I could see the group had started moving. They were heading toward me. Again, though, in my head, these kids just wanted the food.
Oh,
so
that
I
wasn't his
tried
goat.
not
He
to
wearing,
freak out and
long
continued
johns.
heading to my car. That was when I heard it. One of the young men yelled out to me, "Hey, mister." I tried to ignore it, but then I heard it again.
Hey, mister.
Hey, mister, hang on a minute. To this day, I'm not sure why, but I stopped in my tracks and turned to face the group that was trying to get my attention. As I turned, though, I
They ain't
quickly
even did
learned
nothing yet, bro.
what their intentions were. As soon as I was
Breathing
facing
so
them,
heavy.
I heard 3 sounds that almost sounded like small fireworks popping off.
Whoa!
And at the same time, I saw 3 muzzle flashes from a small handgun that one of the teenagers was carrying. I didn't feel anything
Just
at
out in the
first,
open like that?
But when my leg buckled underneath me,
Damn!
I looked down and knew right away that I had been hit. I fell to the floor and the pain began to kick in.
Look how you
I
feel.
screamed out for help, thinking that surely I was about to be killed for some unknown reason. I was somewhat thankful, however,
shit is
when the
crazy.
group
Like,
ran
could you
past
imagine?
me and straight to my car.
Like, this is
which
why I don't
still
like
had
doing
the
stuff
keys
like this.
inside. I heard the sound of people around me
Wow.
screaming as
Y'all
the
had
car
to
pulled
shoot
off.
me to take the car?
person who had
Like,
ordered the food
I would've
had come
gave you the
inside
car
by that
for
point,
free.
and they were
You
the
point a
ones who
gun
called
at me,
the
say, "Give me
ambulance
your car. Here
for
you
I
go."
never got
Like,
that car back. But thankfully, I was still able to walk after all was said and done, and I definitely learned a lesson about being aware of my surroundings.
it ain't even that. This man popped up
Back
on
when
you.
I first moved away for
He popped up on you. These stories blending in like very quickly. He popped up on you and shot you 3 times. Like, they ain't even aware of your surroundings. That shit's just crazy. Like, you ain't nothing gonna prepare you for that. Like, period. That shit crazy. Cause if you tried to run, they probably would have shot you anyways. Like, it's just crazy. Like, whatever. Whatever. I thought that one was pretty good though. It just makes me wonder, because I used to contemplate doing like DoorDash and stuff like that, but I ultimately didn't do it. And the few times that I've thought about doing it, one, because I didn't have a car that I trusted. Now that I do have a car that I trusted, it's just like, do I really want to deal with that? Because being a DoorDasher is like being a waiter or a waitress, right? Everybody blames you, even though you're just the carrier, right? You're just carrying the stuff, but people will blame you like you was in the kitchen cooking the shit up, got in the car and brought it to them, right? And you took the order and like, no, I'm just grabbing the food from the restaurant and bringing it to you. If there's an issue, if there's a problem, and I'm the type of person that I'm gonna just walk away from you. Like, I'm not even finna, like, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm like call the restaurant, and I'm gonna walk away from you. But that would upset people like a lot, and I know. So I just couldn't put myself in a position like that, because what if some shit like that was to happen? That'd be crazy, right? But what y'all thought about story number 2? So we move to story number 3. Since these stories
Back
are
when I
like
first moved away from
blending so
college, my mom
crazily.
and dad bought me this beat-up old Toyota Matrix.
That
so
boy
I
beat
could
up.
drive home.
I mean,
whenever
it's
I
not
wanted.
bad. It's just got the rust. That's rust
I
spot.
grew to hate the old piece of trash
Get that
after a
cleaned
while,
up.
but it got me from point A to B, and it helped me get a job as a delivery driver for a pizza place, so I'll always appreciate the gesture. But then one night, when I was making a delivery, something
This looked like the
happened
street
that
on the
meant
one
that
story from the
that
last
night on,
episode,
I
where
never
the
got into the
Localt
driver's
people
seat of it.
was
Never
removing
again.
signals from people's phone.
So, like I said,
That's what that road
I'm making
looked like.
deliveries one night, and I'd just gotten back into my car after dropping off a bunch of pizzas at an apartment building when I suddenly
is this
realized
pulling
I
up on his
hadn't
car?
locked the passenger side door.
Oh, he thought
The
it was an
only
Uber.
reason I realized I hadn't locked the door was because this guy opens up the door and climbs into my car. Then right as I'm about to tell the guy to get out, I see he has a gun. I'm too scared to even say anything, and he just points it right in my face and says all under breath, "Drive." As I'm pulling into the street, literally trembling in my seat, I see these two cops sprinting out of an alley in my rear view, and that's when it hits me that they were probably chasing him, and they probably had enough time to call in my license plate.
His eyes rolled up in his head like
Turns out I was dead right about that, because the next thing I know, I see flashing lights in the rear view. I didn't even have to look over at the guy. I just see him raise the gun up, pointing it at me, and he says,
"Keep driving.
You stop this car, I'll blow your head off." So I drove.
I tell him like, "Hey, shit,
kept
like,
driving until
my head
we
gonna
were
get
out in
blew
the
off
suburbs.
regardless. It's police behind
The
us."
cops are tailing, and they're not shouting like "pull over" or whatever through their bullhorns or whatever you call it. And I figured it's because they know that the guy basically carjacked me and that there's a hostage situation going on.
Well, if you don't like
The whole
slap
time
that
the
gun
guy's
out his
like,
hand,
"Drive faster,"
or like,
and all I
because
can
he ain't
say
got no
is,
seatbelt on.
"I can't.
Like,
This thing's a piece of trash. If I put my foot down, the engine might freaking give out." So he's content to just delay the inevitable for as long as he could.
Like, I just don't like people
I
like
don't know
that
exactly
do
how
stuff,
long we were driving,
like, and be
because
trying to get
the little digital.
like, one thing that just kills me is, and I think I mentioned this in one of the earlier episodes of this, is when people do crazy. No, it was in when I played As Dusk Falls, which is a great game, by the way. Played that, and the people in there was like talking about I want a helicopter. Like, why do people who do criminal shit sit up and turn around and think you about to get the craziest shit? Like, oh, I want a helicopter and $1 million. What? Even if they do get it to you, you think they just gonna let you go? Like, hey, like, he got it what he wants. He let the hostages go. We gave him what he want. He can go free. Bitch, you're still a criminal. What's the game plan for after they give you this? Huh? What's the game plan for after they give you this stuff? And now you're running from them again. What we doing now? We gonna go to another place and hold some more people hostage and ask for more? Like, what's your thought process? Like, I never understood that. This man is in this car, gun to guy's head to drive. Eventually we're gonna run out of gas. Eventually we're gonna have to stop. Eventually something's gonna happen, right? What's your game plan then? What we gonna do now? Because the police gonna keep telling you. Like, what we gonna do now? Huh? Like, I never understood that. I just had to go on that rant.
I don't know exactly how long we were driving because the little digital clock was busted. But after a while, we started to see fields and stuff. Then my gas light starts blinking, and I tell the guy that if we don't at least try and stop for gas, that we were eventually just going to come to a rolling stop.
Exactly.
He tells me to stop at the next gas station we see, so that's exactly what I do. But not before the guy uses his phone to call 911, telling the operator exactly what's going on, and to tell cops that if they come near the car while we're topping up our gas, he's going to kill the hostage, i.e. me. We eventually pull into this gas station in the middle of nowhere, and I'm absolutely terrified.
Where the snipers at? Snipe this nigga in his head,
I ask him
please.
if he wants me to
get it over with.
Get out to top off the tank. He looks around and sees it's one of those pumps that stays locked unless you pay first, so he says no.
Where those exist? I've never been to a gas station that had
before
those.
He lets me get out of the car. The cops are keeping a safe distance while this is going on.
They
as
right
they
behind you. There ain't no safe
the guy
distance.
was straight up ready to kill me. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't think that too. The whole time they're shouting over their mics like, "Let the hostage go, we can work something out, and
just
no one
lying.
has to die over this, Malcolm.
Lying through their teeth.
Just surrender, and we'll get you help." He's stalling the whole time, pointing the gun to my head every so often to warn the cops off.
And I know it's like part of the training
every
and stuff.
time
You
he
gotta
did
say
it,
stuff
I
like
thought
that.
he was
It's
going
just
to pull the trigger and just
let's
end
get to
it.
the point. Like,
But looking
what
back,
you want?
if they did
You
that,
gonna die.
the cops
we
would
gonna
have just
take you in.
swarmed the car and shot him, or at least I think they would have anyway. Then there came a point where I could see that he was trying to work out how to get out of the mess he'd gotten himself into. He knew he couldn't get out of the car to get the clerk to unlock the pumps, as they'd ran for cover as soon as they saw that it was a dangerous situation, and there was no way for him to get their attention. Then he seemed convinced that if I got out of the car, I'd run off to the cops, like, right away, which, to be fair, was my #1 escape plan at the time. He asked me how far we'd go if we just took off with the gas I had in the tank, and I told him about a mile or two, not far at all. And he lets out this real deep sigh, like a balloon deflating or something.
About to shoot itself.
Which I suppose was exactly what was happening. He was all out of ideas. He knew this was the end of it. And right then, I realized that was the point that he was at his most dangerous. I was pretty much convinced that I was going to die by that point, having gotten it into my head that the guy was going to just
very intense
go
breathing.
out in a blaze of glory by shooting me and then unloading the rest of his ammo onto the cops.
No, he ain't gonna do that. He'll shoot you
Then
and
when
then
I
shoot
heard
himself.
him say himself, screw it, and he did something to the gun, like cock it or take the safety off, I thought to myself, this is it. This is how my life ends. In a trashy
That's not
car
funny.
with some loser
That's
maniac.
not funny. Don't laugh.
I shut my eyes, felt my hands gripping the
That's the
steering wheel
worst
so
way. I'm
hard
gonna
I could
stare.
feel
If you
it
gonna kill
shaking.
me, I'm gonna stare you right in your
Bang.
fucking soul as you do.
Only
it.
a second later, instead of feeling, well, nothing, I found I could open my eyes. But the first thing I saw when I opened them was a few
Told
specks
you it
of
was gonna
blood
shoot
on the
itself.
dash near the passenger's side.
Knew it.
Then when I turned, I instantly started dry heaving, because the guy had obviously put the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger, because there was a ton of blood and chunks of brain matter all over the ceiling of my car. I opened up the door and
It's crazy.
was puking with my hands raised above my head while I heard the cops shouting, "Get down on the ground." I had to lie in my own puke, man. Just lie there while they ran over with their guns on me just in case.
That's so random. I had to lie in my own puke, man. That's so random.
Somehow.
Wow.
I heard the cops shouting, "Get down on the ground." I had to lie in my own puke, man. Just lie there while they ran over with their guns on me just in case I was somehow in on it. It sounds crazy, but I really didn't mind. Knowing it was all over, that I was safe, well, relatively anyway. It was all gravy by that point. Like, I don't even think I can really describe that kind of relief in actual words. I literally felt high off of it. You see and hear about people crying in the aftermath of stuff like that, and I guess that's just how they deal with the emotion. But to me, it kind of felt like I'd won something. Like I beat the carjacker by surviving or whatever.
What?
Anyway, I better sign off
Back
before
to his
this starts
stale,
sounding
plain face.
too abstract, but I can definitely say I wouldn't wish that kind of experience on anyone. Ever.
All right. So what y'all thought about that one? I thought that it was a pretty solid story. It's just like when people be in situations like that, it's just what you think's going to happen. It's very rare for you to do something criminal and you get away with it, right? It's very, especially when it's like a high. We're not talking about like no little petty stuff. We're talking high shit, like you killing somebody, you robbing banks, you like money heist type like stuff. That's drug dealers, drug leaders, stuff like that. Like you eventually gonna get caught, right? And it's just crazy how people in those type of situations really think they not gonna get caught, and then they drag all of these innocent people into the situations and then put their lives on the line, like because of your selfish greed and whatever it is you're trying to do. You put yourself in this situation, you get yourself out by yourself, or you don't get out at all, like, or don't do the shit in the first place. Like shit, like there's one-off situations where I get like starving families, you gotta like go steal some food for you, like I get shit like that. But when you out here and you doing stuff like whatever he was doing, like, bro, like come on now, it's crazy. But yes, let's move to the next one.
I am a pizza delivery driver.
We see that.
This was by far the scariest thing to happen to me. It took place about 1 year ago. I was working on a Thursday night,
He's
which was usually
dedicated. Pizza
decently busy.
on the car,
I
stitched on
made
the
quite
car.
a few deliveries, and the later it got, the more things calmed down. At about 1 in the morning, I got a delivery for a cheese pizza. I put it into
cheese
my
pizza?
car
You
and
sure
drove to
wouldn't,
the location,
like,
which was about 10
20?
minutes away. It was in an area of town which I rarely delivered to,
cheese
and was a
pizza.
little more run down. I got to the address, which was a 2-story house with a pretty decent-sized yard and many overgrown plants and trees. It looked a little bit run down like most houses in the area, and had a front porch that seemed to wrap around the house. I got out of my car, grabbed the pizza, and walked up the driveway to the house. Then I walked up the steps to the door and rang the doorbell. About 30 seconds went by, and I was about to ring the bell again when the door started to open. A man answered.
Ooh.
He was fairly large and bald and looked to be in his 50s. He
Boy,
just stood there staring at me for a second.
look like Pinhead.
I said I had his pizza and handed it to him. He looked almost surprised and said, "Oh, okay, that's nice." Then he just looked around.
Oh,
He
okay,
just
that's
seemed a little
nice.
bit strange to me.
Oh, he about to snatch your
Then he
ass
said
up.
to me
He
that
want
he had
more
to
than
get
that
some
pizza.
cash to tip me, and he would be right back.
Oh, he about to go get
He
some.
went back inside and closed the door.
I'll put the pizza right on
I
the
stood
ground
there
and I'll be
waiting for a
gone
good
when he
2
get
or
back.
3 minutes.
Oh yeah, I would have
But
been
the
gone.
man still didn't
Been
return.
gone.
I was thinking
Tip
about
ain't
just
that
leaving
important.
when
Probably
I
only
heard some
$2
noise
anyway.
and figured the man must be coming back. But when I listened closer, it wasn't coming from inside. It was coming
Behind
from
you.
outside on the porch. I looked around to the direction of the noise. Then I saw from the side of the house on the porch 3 men approaching me about 30 feet away. I guess it was just an instinct, but
Why
as
they
soon as I
eyes
saw
keep
them,
rolling in their
I
heads
turned
like
and
that?
sprinted back down the porch to the driveway.
Like y'all thinking about something
When I did,
freaky?
I heard all the men start to chase after me. I ran as fast as I could to my car and unlocked it and then jumped inside.
You ain't running at all,
I
buddy. You
frantically
running like
started
this.
the engine and
You gotta
stepped
get
on
that
the gas.
momentum, get them strides going.
As soon as my car started
Oh.
moving forwards, the men reached me. I felt one of them kick my back door, and another one tried opening the door on the other side, but I was just barely able to drive away. I sped out of the neighborhood and all the way back to the pizza place. I have to think that the pizza delivery was some sort of trap to lure me into getting robbed, or maybe even worse. I haven't delivered to that area much since, but when I do, I'm extra careful.
That story was, oh man, it was short. And it wasn't really much to it. Like, yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. What y'all thought of it as we move to the next one?
I am a 21-year-old female. Around 3 years
Really?
ago, when I took a job as a pizza delivery
Y'all know y'all
driver,
could have got a lady to voice.
we lived in a small town.
Or y'all
and
could
there
have just
wasn't
kept it a
much,
guy.
But there was a little pizza place. My older brother had worked there as a pizza delivery driver the year before. I went in one day to ask for an application to work there. The owner was a middle-aged man named Gary. He told me I was hired as soon as I asked for the application. I thought he must be joking, so I laughed, but then he said he was serious. I remember my brother had said that Gary was a little weird, but I didn't really mind as long as I had a job. I got trained the next week, and soon after was my first real day on the job. I was scheduled to work a night shift, and when I arrived, it was just me, Gary, and another kid that I went to high school with named Mike.
At a movie theater?
Like I
wasn't
said,
paying
it was a
attention.
small place and a small town, so it wasn't usually that busy. I waited around and swept the floors
Oh,
for
no,
a few
restaurant?
minutes before an order for a delivery came in. How it would usually work is Gary would make the pizzas and then the drivers would deliver them. When the pizza was done, I was told to deliver it, so I took the address and then the pizza and got into my car. But when I did, Gary followed me. He told me he wanted to ride with me and make sure I did the delivery correct.
What?
I was a little annoyed because I knew I would get it right, and I didn't want him going with me. I thought it would be really awkward, and Gary just kind of gave me the creeps. He was the boss, though, so I had to do
But
what
you
he told
said
me
you didn't
to.
mind.
I
As long
got
as you
in
had
and
a
drove
job.
to the address without a problem.
Stick to
Gary
that.
didn't really
Them
say
your
anything
words. Stick
during
to
the
it.
drive. He just watched me. We arrived at the house and I got out and gave them the pizza.
And I'll
Gary stayed in the
undress.
car and waited. When I got back to my car that was parked on the street, I saw that Gary was in the driver's seat now and was motioning for me to get in the passenger side. I got in and asked him why he was driving. He said he needed to show me something. I was getting a bad feeling, and I really didn't like Gary driving my car. I asked him again what he was doing, this time with a more stern tone in my voice. But he didn't answer me this time and focused his eyes on the road.
This
He
man
started
is
driving
something
back,
else.
but then made a turn that I realized was not the right way to go back. Then Gary spoke, but his tone of voice changed. He said, "Just shut up."
What?
I knew then that I was in trouble. I feared for what Gary might do, and he was much bigger than me.
But he's
He
old.
took a road that led more into the wilderness.
Kick
and
his
we drove
leg
for
here at
several
summer
minutes.
break.
Then I saw a stop sign coming up. I did just what I felt I had to do, and as soon as the car came down to a slow enough
Got
speed,
out that bitch and
I
ran.
opened the
You
door
better.
and got out.
You
And
better.
then I ran as far away as I could. I started running in some grass and then sort of a wooded area. As I was running, I heard his door
Oh
open,
my
and I heard
goodness.
him shouting, but I couldn't understand what he was saying.
He done went
That made
crazy.
me run even faster. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I needed to get away. I ran for as long as I could before running out of breath, and then I hid behind a tree. I didn't hear him or anything, so I decided to take out my phone and
Ooh, that
call
phone
my
kind
mother.
of scared me. I thought it was.
I
I
told her
thought
what
the
had
scariest thing in the
happened,
video.
and
I
she had
thought
me
that
turn
was
my
something
location
else.
on so she
Thought
could
that was
pick
like
me
him
up.
pulling up on her, popping out.
She arrived about 15 minutes later and then called the police. My car and Gary had both vanished.
Her
He ended
car.
up being found and arrested
She a real
week
one.
later.
She got the
My
fuck
car
up
was
out that
found in
car.
his
She didn't care.
garage. His restaurant was shut down, and I ended up getting a job at a local
What was his
grocery store
purpose
instead.
of doing all of that? Is my question. Like, what do these? I can never get into the minds of people who are like that. That's just crazy. I can never get in the minds of people like that. But what did y'all think of that one? That one was better than the last one. I'm still a little bit on the shorter side, but hey, it was solid. It's just, once again, it takes me back to, what was that, our last episode where I was speaking about how women be having to go through stuff like that. And once again, I apologize on behalf of all of these creeps that's out here, these creep guys that are out here that do stuff like that. It's just like, what possesses you to do things like that? It's just, I couldn't tell you. Like, it's just, I'll be wrapping my brain around that until I die. Like, and in the afterlife, as to how that is something that people decide to do. Like, it's crazy to me. It's just crazy. But I guess that's why it's crazy. It's crazy. What did y'all think of it? As we move to our next.
I recently moved across the country to a new town to go to school. I was able to land a job as a pizza delivery driver pretty easily. I've done this job before, and I like it because it's relatively easy and I make good money on tips. I work a lot of really late night shifts. A couple of weeks ago, I was working and at about 2 a.m. an order came in. It was for a large cheese pizza.
And what's
At
up with
that
cheese
hour,
pizza?
it was
People
just a
love
couple of us
cheese pizza, huh?
working, so I made the pizza
You
myself.
think what you think
and
is
then
more
put it in my
popular,
car
cheese
and
pizza or
went to deliver
pepperoni?
it.
I think
I didn't know
pepperoni
the
is
area very
more
well,
popular,
so I would
and I would
always put
say
the
cheese
address
is
in
like
on
a
my
close
phone
second.
and then just follow the directions. I got in my car and typed it in. It said it was a 15-minute drive. As I drove, it seemed to be taking me into the middle of nowhere.
Did his
I drove
steering
for
wheel
about
just?
10 minutes through. I drove, it typed it in. Just
Yes, it
follow the
did.
directions. I got in my car and typed it in. It said it was a 15-minute drive. As I drove, it seemed to be taking me into the middle of nowhere.
His
I
steering
drove for
wheel
about
just
10
raised,
minutes
and you
through
have the
woods
ability
without
to
a
do that.
building
But
or
I'm
house
pretty
in
sure
sight.
he didn't lower it and then
Finally,
raise it back
I
up
was
in
supposed
that
to
moment
turn
while
onto
he's
a little
driving.
dirt road that I could barely see. If it hadn't showed up on my map, I would have almost certainly missed it. I slowed down and then turned onto the little dirt road. The map showed me continuing on this road for about 1 more mile, and then I would take a left, and the destination would be there. I began driving down the dirt road, which was surrounded by woods. Then suddenly, my phone lost signal. I wasn't all that surprised being so far out from the city, but I was concerned because I needed to find the house to deliver the pizza. I kept driving very slowly and looked for a road on the left side. Finally, I saw it and I turned. The road was another dirt one, but the woods on each side was even more dense. It was very eerie being out there on that road at that time of night, especially not knowing where I was. I drove down the road very slowly, looking on both sides for a house.
This one got some music that's popping in at the right times.
Out here. But all I saw was trees from the dense woods and some grass. I still had no service at all on my phone, but I knew I had to be close to where the delivery was supposed to be. It was very dark and hard to see, with the only lights coming from my headlights. I wasn't seeing any kind of buildings at all. I started to get a really creepy feeling being out there, and after about 5 minutes of driving down that road looking, I decided to turn around and go back.
I would have turned around sooner, but
see that
all
there
right.
was no buildings. I drove my car back to the other dirt road, and then back to where
Reverse,
I had
quick as hell.
At last, I was finally able to get connection on my phone, and when I did, I looked at the map again, but the address had been erased, and it was not there. I found the card that I had wrote the address on and put it back into my phone, but this time, it said address not found.
Wow.
I decided I would just head back and try to figure out what was going on. When I got back to the store, I showed my boss the address and told him what happened. He looked surprised when I gave him this information. Then he told me that there are no houses or buildings in that area at all. I went back to look at the order that had come in, but it was gone. I chalked it up to a lack of sleep, but to this day, I really don't know how to explain what happened.
A lack of sleep.
Maybe I was just really tired, but it was still a really creepy experience.
Yeah, exactly. Shake your head. Shaking my head is right. We're on our final video for this episode. This one's a little bit short. I've been super busy this week, and I'm like tired all the time, except when I go to the gym. Somehow I end up waking up going to the gym, and it energizes me. But yes, it'd be a little bit shorter, 7 stories, but they're a little bit on the shorter side, so not the 50-60 plus minute videos that we've been having, but we'll get back to that. But we're on our final story. Let me know what y'all thought of that last story. I thought that one was okay. The sounds, like I said, they were coming in better and they were hitting better. It just was not really any jump scares that were present in that one. But yeah, so let's move.
Growing up in a small town in Colorado, there weren't a ton of options for work as a 19-year-old who didn't go to college. So when I got my license, I ended up grabbing a job for one of the local diners that I used to love eating at. They had a delivery position, and I also bussed tables when there were no orders to be delivered. The radius for delivery wasn't too large, only about 3.5 miles. But considering the area around the town was mostly mountainous woods, some deliveries could take nearly 40 minutes. This wasn't a problem, though. I love driving, and I loved all the scenery around me as I made my deliveries. One night, however, Mother Nature showed me how truly terrifying she could be. What happened was that the diner got a delivery order, and right away I recognized the address. It was one of our regulars. And after their food was made, it would only be a 15-minute drive for me. When I got in my car, I didn't even have to use the GPS because I knew the exact house I was going to. It was a small, single-story house that was in the middle of the woods. I loved this house's long gravel driveway. I would always see small critters like squirrels and other animals running through the trees and along the stone wall that lined the path. The driveway would then open up to an area that had room for about 4 cars to park in, which I love because they only ever had 1 car in the driveway, so I had enough space to simply turn around instead of having to reverse and make a K-turn. As I made my way down the driveway that evening, I was surprised that I didn't see any animals scurrying around, but I figured since it's getting cold again, it was just that time of year. So I drove all the way down the driveway and pulled in front of the house. As I got out of the car, I couldn't help but feel like someone or something was staring at me.
What the hell was that growl?
I just
Is that
brushed
a
it
dog?
off as the owner looking out of their window, though, and continued around my car to the passenger side to get the food. As I'm leaning into the passenger side of the car, I heard the sound of something moving around behind me. I stood up straight and quickly turned to see what it was, but there was nothing there. I shrugged and continued to get the food out of my car. This time, though, as I was closing the passenger door,
very quickly,
I heard
but it
what
was
an
just terrified. Now we
deep,
straight
growling
faced
noise coming from the trees.
What?
I tried my best to look
That's
into
what a
the
bear
dark
sound like?
forest where the noise was coming from. As I slowly
I don't know about
backed
that one.
toward the house,
Let's go back and
dark
listen to that.
coming from the trees. I tried my best to look into the dark forest where the noise was coming from.
That's just me.
As I slowly backed toward the house,
You say this is a
that
bear.
was when I saw it. A medium-sized black bear came running out of the woods. I could hear the snarling coming from it. With each step it took, I turned and sprinted
rules
toward
for
the
bears?
house. And when I reached the steps,
If it's
I
brown,
didn't waste
stand
time
tall.
knocking. I grabbed the handle and
If it's
thankfully,
black,
the door was unlocked, so I was able
Run,
to rush
whatever, I
inside. I apologized to the
I just
homeowners
hope I
for
never have an
barging in
encounter
like
with a
that,
bear.
but once they looked
I'm-
out their window, they understood. To this day, I still don't think that bear was trying to attack me. If it wanted to get me, it was more than fast enough. If I had to guess, it probably had cubs nearby and was trying to scare me off. Still, I'll
That's why I
never
can't
forget the look
live
of
in the
those
woods.
teeth as they charged toward me.
now it sounds like Chewbacca. Like, let's get the sound right. All right. But what I was going to say, I didn't continue because I didn't want to break too much of the immersion. But what I was going to say, what did you guys think of that last one? That last story there. I thought it was the encounter, like the story itself, like in of itself, is a crazy story. Because like, could you imagine like running into a black bear? Black bears are supposed to be, I think, the deadliest of, well, not the deadliest, because there's some other ones that are deadlier. Polar bears are the deadliest of the bear species, but black bears, I think, are second, if I remember correctly. But it's a bear, period. Like, it's crazy. They got like 4-5 inch claws, 5 of them. So it's like 4-5 inch claws on all paws. So that's 20, right? It's crazy. Like, you wouldn't want to go across that. That's why I couldn't live in secluded areas like that, because unless all of the land itself was owned by me and we went through and we cleared it out and it's just like a sanctuary for us in our household. But outside of that, I can't do that, right? Like, I can't go and buy acres of property and you got deers roaming. Well, deers wouldn't mind, but you got random, like with deers, there's other things that come. There's like foxes that'll come. There's coyotes that'll come. You got mountain lions, depending on where you're at, that'll come. Like, it's so many different things. Bears, so many different things that will come being in the wilderness like that, and I just can't have that. Then you have a family too, and you gotta no, there's just too much to worry about. So put me in the city, buddy. Put me in the city. Unless, like I said, it's a property that I bought and we cleared out that space in that land, then okay, that's fine. But if it's not, put me in the city. But what y'all thought about that? Today is Wednesday that I'm recording this. I usually record these on like Sunday or Monday. Since I've been so busy, today is Wednesday and I'm recording this. And I got to bring it out on you for Friday, and I work in between and got the gym and all that stuff, so I gotta find time to edit it. I'm gonna get it done. Trust me. Come Friday, it's gonna be here. Y'all gonna see this portion. Y'all gonna be like, yes, I'm gonna get it done. But yes, this week was a busy week for me. As always, I greatly appreciate the love and support you guys show the videos on a regular basis. If you are loving the videos, please make sure you are spamming that like button, because it really does help. If you are new to the community, smash that sub button. And if you want to be alerted whenever I go live and or post another video, smash that bell notification so that you can be. And as always, if there's any content you would like to see created here on the channel, drop that in the comment section below, including stuff for this season, this series. I want to see stuff. I want y'all to recommend stuff. I want my inbox, I want my comment section to to be littered and filled with content that you guys would want to see here, with video suggestions and stuff like that, so that we can continue. I want to be able to react to the things you guys see or that you watch and you like, oh, this might be right. I want to do that so we can talk about it. But yes, y'all have a great one, ladies and gentlemen.